Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time we're going to take a look at this book, Star Reach number 6. Just a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, I did an episode on a different issue of Star Reach. And of course, Star Reach was an independent, one of the first independent comics published. This is by Mike Friedrich. Was the publisher and frequently the main writer, but I don't think he wrote anything in this one. Now the last one I looked at was issue 2, 3? I've forgotten now. And but this is issue 6 from 1976. But this is a second printing, actually, from 1977. $1.50 cover price. Of course, it's all black and white, and of course, these were what was called they were referring to as ground level comics, because they were not underground, which was at that time thinking primarily of being sex and drugs, and overground or mainstream comics that was still perceived as primarily or exclusively for children, but this was something more mature, maybe more considered writing, a little bit of nudity, and maybe a little bit of sex, maybe a little bit of drugs, but none of which was the main focus. And of course, Star Reach was a science fiction fantasy book. See, in this issue features for the primary story, the lead story is Michael Moorcocks' Elric, and this is a beautiful Jeff Jones painted cover, and I think this painting may have been used on the cover of a novel later on too. I'm not positive on that. And here, whoops, without the masthead, you can see the full thing. It's got a little stain on here, but it is beautifully painted. And of course, Jeff Jones, of course, doing some comics, but he primarily did a lot of science fiction and fantasy book covers, and throughout the 70s, like Gardner Fox's. Oh, geez, I suddenly can't remember the character's name. He was a Conan the Barbarian imitation, and I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And several covers for the Fritz Leiber, Pfaffert and Gray Mouser books, and a bunch of other things as well. So we'll just take a look here. This has more than just Elric. But now this story is an original story, not based on any Michael Moorcock story. They've had. I've got one or two other issues. It has another Elric story, which was based on a Moorcock story, I think. Anyway, and this is actually these few. This is very early comic versions of Elric. I think the first comic version was in a crossover with Conan the Barbarian by Marvel Comics. Anyway, this is The Prisoner of Pantang, written by Eric Kimball with art by Bob Gould, based on an original story by Stephen Grant. Or original story idea, I should say. The plot, and is a very different style of art. I like it, but it gets very busy because it's with all the line work and stuff. It gets very busy. Now, Elric, the magician, prince of the magical city of Melnibone country, and his after an encounter in a war, a battle at sea with headed by Elric against forces of the city of Pantang, and they were defeated. And Elric is on the run on the land looking, and here he comes up is encountering some. There's his good image, his rune Stormbringer, and he goes right into town, slashing and killing all these guys. But he winds up getting captured, and he's netted. His sword is taken away from him. And the sword, of course, is the source of his life power, his life force. Without that, he is very, because he's an albino, has a lot of health problems, and the black's rune sword sucks up the life force of and the souls of the people he kills, and provides him with strength. And here he is. He wakes up. It's like a guest. He's called to a banquet. He goes to the banquet. Here is the leader of Pantang. And the parts of this, the art and stuff, really reminds me a lot of Barry Windsor Smith, especially when he was in the Red Nails story. And this guy wants to join forces with Elric to basically take over, conquer the other nations, and including Melnibone, and which they would rule together. Of course, Elric says no, and he fights back. They slam him down, and then now he's a real prisoner in chains. But then one of a princess comes, and have get flashback to how this happened with the battle and the death of his lady love Cimarol, etc. But he's still in chains. A lady comes to, and she offers to help him. Some of it is hard to read because it's white lettering on uneven dark background. So, and but she does help him, free him, and eventually he helps him to where the king is trying to get the use of the sword, Stormbringer, the black sword, and he's so weakened, but but it doesn't. The sword will not give him the power that he wants. It won't convert the power to him. Then they get into an argument and into a fight. He winds up slashing and killing the lady who was helping Elric, because she was wanting to get out of there too, and not anymore. And he's exasperated. No, he doesn't get any any strength, but this is from the other rune, another black rune sword anyway, not Stormbringer. But Stormbringer is right there, and he manages to get to Stormbringer, and then as soon as he gets it in his hands, now he's got strength, he's got power, and he makes short work of this king. So I like the artwork, I like the visual storytelling. They just have captions, no dialogue balloons, but they have dialogue captions. And then the guards pop up, and he lays into them, and gets to the sea. He takes a boat, and he is gone. And it is very good. Then we have another little story here, written by Gary Pentras, and Gene Day did the artwork with Steve Lealoa doing the inks. See, all these creators are primarily, for this book, primarily mainstream comic creators. This was like an outlet for them for something other than regular superhero stuff. And this is basically an altered retelling of the story of Adam and Eve, but instead of Eve, This one's named Sunshine, and she doesn't eat the apple. And then here we have, as we saw on the cover, it has a new poem by Ray Bradbury. It says, "The Viking Lander, Mars," by Ray Bradbury, with an Alex Nino illustration for. I'll just read a couple of lines here, because this is, remember, this is at the time, this was a new poem, and it was he was inspired by the Viking lander landing on Mars in '76, I guess it was. So it says, "Why Mars? Why go to find the place? The human race gives answer, finds a pause, and no, not just because it's there." And that's all I'm going to read of that. It's too long. Then we have a story, Gods of Mount Olympus. This is just a retelling of some Greek myth stories. This is Zeus and Prometheus, and it's just retelling the story of Prometheus. This is drawn by Joe Stanton. I really like Joe Stanton's style here, this time in his career, more so than some of his later work. And Prometheus, the creation of humans, Zeus getting angry, taking fire away from the humans, and then Prometheus stealing fire to give back to the humans. Then the creation of the first woman. They were men. The first woman, who was Pandora, and she was given to Prometheus's brother Epimetheus. And see, here we have Prometheus being chained, and the vulture coming to eat his liver out every day. And I have to deal with the box. This is all this stuff was set up by Zeus, and Pandora, being so curious, opens the box and releases all the evils into the world, but also releases hope. And then we have another story. The next one is Artemis and Apollo. So apparently they're doing a series here now. And then Out of Space, Out of Time. This is a beautifully rendered little story. It's not really much story to it. It's I'm not even going to try to describe it because it's too complex. But it has some very, very beautiful artwork with a lot of airbrush work, etc. And it's about an early space mission and some alien encounter, and all. It's bizarre, but it is very beautifully done. And that would be it for Starreach. And that's what I had to share with you this time around. I want to thank you for joining. Please like, share, subscribe, leave your comments down below. And tell me, what do you think of this issue of Starreach, or any issues of Starreach? And how about this great Jeff Jones painted cover, or the interior art of Elric? Are you a Michael Moore fan, Michael Moorcock fan, or Elric fan, or just science fiction, or sword and sorcery in general? Any of that stuff, let me know in the comments below. And remember, comics are art.